Good morning, everyone.
Hey, Lourdes.
Hey, how you doing?
How are you?
Okay.
We are already streaming live, even though the meeting is now starting yet.
Nice.
Right, you know that.
Mhm. Okay.
Lourdes, I'm gonna mute you and turn off your video for now, because the way it displays my screen that says meeting start at 10 a.m. on this live stream. Okay.
Morning.
Morning.
Good morning, everyone.
Hey, Jimmy.
Good morning.
Morning, Rashida.
Good morning. Hey, Lourdes. Good morning, everyone.
Hi, everybody. Just meeting will start in 5 minutes, right? 9:55. We'll start at 10.
Good morning.
Morning, Leonard.
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. How are you this morning?
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm doing well
Good
and
morning.
happy, but happy to be here and happy to be alive. Hope you and all your family members are doing well too. Happy Thursday.
Yes, it is a happy Thursday.
Okay, it's 10 o'clock. I guess we can get started. Good morning, everybody. The first thing we're going to do is to run the CPAC attendance. This is a special meeting that we have organized specifically to address PA and PTAs and President Council's issues like elections and similar things. we will be sharing a document that CPAC has created. Hopefully we're gonna get some information about a document that will be released soon by the DOE with guidances, but let's start. Oh, thank you. And let's start with attendance. Will need to be called, meeting will start at 10 a.m. anymore. So now my real name is there. So District 1, which is me, Marco Battistella, is present. I saw Leonard earlier.
I'm here. District 2 is here.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning.
Jimmy, also co-chair of CPAC.
District
Here from
3.
District 3. Rashida, I know I saw you earlier on, District 4. Is Jacqueline from District 5 already here?
Yeah, present.
Hi, how are you doing?
Good morning.
Good morning. Oviedo from 6, are you here? Maybe not yet. Danielle from District 7. Lourdes, District 8, I know I saw you earlier.
Here.
Doleta from 9, from District 9. Not yet. Richard from District 10. Not yet. Miriam, District 11. No. Doris from 12.
Yes,
Yeah.
12 is
Oh,
here.
yeah.
Good morning.
Hey, good morning. Celia from District 13. Not yet. Ariana from District 14. Katea, how you doing? I saw you earlier. District 15. Good morning. Janice from District 16.
Yes, good morning.
Hi, good morning. Veronica from 17.
Good morning.
Hi, good morning. Abby from 18. Not yet. Sherry from 19. No. Janine from District 20.
Morning, Marco.
Hey, good morning. Randy from 21. I saw you. How are you?
Good.
And Kemoy from 22. Not yet. Tanya from District 23. Not yet. Mati from District 24. Also not yet.
Here.
Oh, hi, Mati. How are you? Frances actually told us that she will not going to be here. I don't know if somebody else from District 22, so from District 25 is here in her stead. No. Cecilia, I think I saw you earlier, didn't I? No, I guess not yet. District 26. Mahauria from 27.
Here.
Hi, how are you doing?
Good morning.
Jessica from District 28, also
Good
our
morning.
recording secretary. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Sheree from 29. Not yet. Alyssa from 30. Edwina from District 31. No, I think I saw Jessie from District 32.
Good morning, Jazzy here.
Hi, good morning. And Andrea from District 75.
Present.
Hey, how are you?
Hi, good morning.
Is Damara here from Brooklyn High Schools?
Good morning.
Hi. And Stacy from Bronx High Schools? No. Martha from Manhattan High Schools? I think I saw you earlier.
morning.
Yeah,
I'm here.
good morning. And Shivion, Queens?
Good morning.
Good morning. And is Aaron from Staten Island High School here? Not yet, I can see. And is Marie, our parliamentarian, here? I didn't see her.
Yes, good morning.
Hi, good morning, Marie. Let me also, great. So let's get this meeting started. I would like also just a brief introduction. So part of this, I see Bibi and I see a few other people from DOE here present. I don't know if you want to just introduce yourself quickly. I see Lynn, I see Bibi, I don't know who else. Oh, Myishia. I guess.
Tamika, there are actually quite a few SBL.
Okay.
Good morning, Myishia, Taylor, Myke. Good morning, districts 1, 4, and 6. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, everyone. Christian Mabry, districts 15, 19, 20, and 32, school-based liaison.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Tamika Nurse Carter, districts 13, 17, 22, and 23, school-based liaison.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Anthony Aguilar. I'm with districts 14, 16, 18, and 21.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Bibi Matadin, districts 27, 28, 29, 31.
Good morning, Lynn Sanchez. I'm supporting districts 9 and 11.
Great. Brilliant. So just to give a generic update, and please, anybody correct me if I say something that is incorrect. So DOE has been working, in particularly the people that have just introduced themselves, and possibly a few more, in creating guidance for PA and PTA's elections. This document has been shared with CPAC voting member for feedback, but is waiting for the DOE legal department to actually finalize the document and give the okay to make it public. So that's the situation, right? We don't know exactly when, possibly even tomorrow, it will be made public, correct? If anybody here has the exact information. I guess I have.
Marco,
yeah, go
Marco,
ahead.
we're looking at getting you something as soon as possible. However,
Yeah.
right now our next step is having Adrian review the document after we've
Correct.
inputted your recommendations, suggestions, and we have observed some of the mock elections. So we needed to tighten up the document a little bit more. Added the Google Meets platform to the the comprehensive list of platforms. So right now we're just reviewing it, make sure language is aligned with what we want to message out. And once Adrian gave us the green light with that, we will certainly share it back with you, and we'll take it from there, so it can be
Right.
distributed publicly.
Okay, that's great. So to fulfill the void of a document, CPAC has created a quick kind of like step through the election process. We have not, we are lucky because we don't have to go through legal to release a document. And of course, it takes some hints from the document that we were able to work with you, but it's much simpler. It's just a 1.5 page long, and allows us to kind of begin giving an idea of what the process will look like to all the various PA, and hopefully even be able to launch a start of President Council or PAs that can start doing mock elections on their own, to train themselves and to see what kind of problems they might arise and how to solve them. So let me share that document that we have finalized yesterday. Let me see if I have it open on my computer. Yeah. So I'm gonna share this document. We're gonna quickly go through it, and hopefully I'm gonna call on some of you to explain, as far as you can explain it, you tell me, but to explain the aspect of validation of voters and people running. So let me see, share my screen here. Let me make it larger, I think. Is it large enough for people to see it on your screen, even like this?
Yes.
Okay.
Brilliant.
Good.
So we can skip the introduction. The only thing I think important in the introduction is, as you begin planning, reach out to your president council or your district office, and or I even say, for additional support. There are always available support from the president council and from the district office to run your elections or to help you organize them with 4 PAs. And the steps ultimately are very simple. There is not a lot that changes from just a regular election, only a few details that need to change because they've been done online. Oh, by the way, a few people in this meeting are monitoring the chat happening in the YouTube link. So I'm sure there are gonna be plenty of questions and we're gonna make the best effort to answer those questions. So if an issue arises, if through the explanation there seems something that is off or anything, post your questions. If you are viewing this in the streaming link on YouTube, post your question. We're gonna try to see if we can get them answered right now. So the first step is form a nominating committee. This is no different. Any member of the PTA or PTA now seeking election can participate. This is sometimes a step that is problematic because it requires somebody that is not running for election to also have experience. So sometimes PAs have problems with it. If you do have run into problems, get in contact again with the President Council, with the FLC, with the FSC, and ask them for help, either to directly facilitate the election or help in actually creating actually facilitate the election. Set a date for the election. Notify the principal. By the way, after this meeting, we will be able to share this document. We might make some final change based on feedback that we get today. And after that, we'll be sharing this document. Notify the principal and parent coordinator of date and time. Make sure that there's a member of the administration present because somebody needs to verify the candidate and the voter, and it has to be a DOE employee, it cannot be a PTA member. Choose an online platform. Any platform is fine, but just use one. Ideally, use one that has a polling function. That makes it easier for you to run the election. And should be an anonymous polling function. Zoom, for example, has one. But anyone is fine. Alternatively, there are applications online, like web-based application that allows you to run an election in the same way. If your platform that you choose doesn't have it. Send notice to family 10 calendar days before the election. Then the nominating committee should recruit nominees prior to the election. The DOE has a form that is like a suggested form. We downloaded and put a link to it here because you cannot link directly to DOE forms. You need to navigate through the website to reach it. But if you want to just give a link to a specific document, you can. But this is how it looks like. And it's just a sample. But ultimately, you can, and in many cases should, also take nomination for the floor anyway, once the election actually starts. So those are the steps, simple steps that you need to take care of before the election to prepare for it. As you can see, basically nothing is different, almost nothing is different from just running a regular election. The election meeting, so to specify the election portion is chaired by the nominating committee. You might have a different portion of the meeting that is chaired by the current president or whoever is normally chairing it. Ensure that your platform allows you to assign co-hosts and presenters who can access the polling part of the election. This sometimes could be tricky. So that is a good thing to try ahead. Just grab grab a handful of people and say, let's run this election as if it was the real election. Let's see everything that happens if we do it. Ensure quorum is met. And then this might depend on different PA's bylaws, but normally if you don't have anything different in your bylaw than the chancellor regs, the quorum is 8 members, 2 of which are executive board members. So basically 2 executive board members and 6 members, or 3 and 5, but at least 2 that must be executive board members for a total of 8. So the principal would designate somebody to verify whether meeting attendees are eligible to vote. That might probably going to be the parent coordinator, but it really might be somebody else. It has to be a DOE employee. So nomination might be submitted early, but you can also take it from the floor. And the recommendation is that you do 1 set of nomination and 1 election at a time. So you start with presidents or co-presidents, get the nomination, close the nominations, run the election for that position, go to the next, so that somebody that was not elected president might run for another seat and make that decision after they were not elected for a prior seat. Remind the candidate and participant that they are not allowed to solicit votes outside of the time given to them to speak. This is because the election could be invalidated if somebody was seen soliciting. It happened recently, and so just keep that in mind. All the candidates should have equal time to introduce themselves before the voting begins. Of course, there are situations, that's the easier situation is when there are positions that are uncontested. There is only 1 person running for that position, or 2 people running as co for that position. And in that case, you can simply make a motion and adopt that that position with a yes/no vote. No need for an election per se. So important is remember to make the polling anonymous. This is actually, I said it before. It's very important to share the poll result on screen to ensure the secretary minute taker records the results, and everybody also has the information available. Now, there is one situation that complicates things a little bit, which is there might be some parents that called in and they don't have a smartphone, they don't have access to a computer, they still would like to participate, but they clearly cannot participate in the poll. So the idea there is that you can, at that point, announce 2 phone numbers that they can even text or call and provide their validation. One should be the parent coordinator or the principal appointee. The other should be one of the nominating committee members, so that that person can actually just call the number and say, hey, I'm such and such, okay, I recognize you, the parent coordinator recognize, oh yeah, I know you, I know you are allowed to vote, who do you want to vote for? Such and such. Great. That information is then added to the poll. So with this situation, we even allow people that don't have access to a device to still be able to participate in your elections. Of course, they are giving away, in part, their anonymity. Only 2 people will know who they voted for, not the entire, not everybody in the member, but it's the only way that you will be able to allow them to vote without access to a device. After the position for the PTA, SLT election can be run in the same way. And after the election is finished, don't forget to fill in all the details in the certification, in the election certification form, Here is a sample. So that you can, because you have all the people right there that can pass you the information. If you wait after the meeting, then you have to chase everybody to find out what their information are, and it complicates your life. That's it. It's done. So it's fairly simple, at least as you listed here. There are plenty of problems that can arise, but I think we can iron through the problems that can arise, and we can just making one mock election ahead of time. Anybody, any PA should be able to run smoothly an election. Now, I would like, let me stop sharing. Now, again, this document we'll be able to share it after this meeting with potential some editing after given from comments. I would like to hear, so one part that we didn't get into because it's really kind of outside the scope of PTAs is the aspect of the validation of whether a parent is the person that is allowed to vote, whether it has. So I don't know if somebody from DOE is willing and could explain a little bit what the idea is for that aspect. If it's something that you feel like cannot share it because it's not being cleared by legal, then we can skip that. But if you would like to give a little sense, that would be great.
Mark, are you talking about the existing document that we shared prior?
Right. I mean, I don't want to share that document, right? That gonna wait for legal. But what I'm asking is, do you feel it's okay for you to share the idea behind how a parent coordinator or principal appointee will be able to verify parent voters, or you think like you need to skip it because you want to wait for legal? You don't even want to talk about it because you want to wait for legal to clear it.
I think that's a need and an ask, and we need to have some clear instructions that will help to support the work from a school, school staff perspective, how they will go about creating unique code. And we are working through with our district partners to think through that process and what it would look like. And we want to follow that up with some trainings, just to make sure that we're all on the same page, and supporting the PTA election will be a smooth transition in getting these unique codes to them. So
Okay.
I think, no, we don't want to share a document, but we certainly have.
Certainly not the document. Yeah, certainly not the document. Right.
We certainly have some instructions and some guidance on it, like, what you can do, how you can go about doing it, like the how and how you can share that out, and how the PTA will play into the part where you will give them or share that unique code, but not giving parent information to them. So at least you can have a list to plan for. Yes, so that's where we are with that. Hopefully we'll have something to share with you all very soon.
Right. But no, basically you already actually gave away the concept, which is.
Oh, there you go, answered your questions.
Which is, you are gonna create unique codes for each parent, right? In some process that is gonna be used to validate it, correct?
Yeah, that's the idea, but
Right,
I'll
that's
allow
the
my
idea.
colleagues. Yeah, that's the idea, but I'll allow my colleagues to comment if they have something to share on that.
Yeah,
But that's the idea.
Also
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Myishia. Also the October 31st waiver deadline needs to be taken into consideration. Is coming up very soon.
Okay, that's a different issue though, Lovis. So, Myishia, you were going to say something?
I kind of lost my train of thought. I think I was going to say that, oh my goodness. I was going to say that based on your recommendations and the verification code, we're just really, again, I'll reiterate what Bibi said, we're just waiting. The document, in our opinion, SBL seems strong. We're very appreciative of the collaboration with you all. And we're just hoping that we can push this along quickly. And that's it, really.
Okay, that's good.
And
That's
yes,
fine.
thank you,
That's fine.
Lourdes. I mean, we've discussed that a little bit as well, but we're just waiting, just a waiting game. Let's just hope we don't have to wait too long.
Yeah, cool. And I see Cecilia from DC26 raised her hand.
It was my comment was along those lines. PTAs have been waiting for a long time. Like everyone has been waiting for a long time. And as you said, like PTAs can do mock-in elections on their own, but if it's taking us this long, or it's taking DOE this long to present, like to share these guidelines, then you have to consider like it will take longer probably for each of us to make it happen. So I just wanted to emphasize how urgent these guidelines are for everyone in the city. So we appreciate anything you can do to make it happen as soon as possible.
Cool. Is somebody following? Because I don't have really the time to follow all the questions myself, all things that are.
Marco, I can read some of the questions if you'd like from YouTube.
Yeah, to see whether we have an answer or not.
Hey, Marco. Hey, CPAC.
So I think the first one is
okay.
When can we? Go ahead.
Hold on. Yes. So as you're asking, I think the most pertinent information that is being requested with the document that you just shared, Marco, and what's being asked is that would this document be made available? Would it be shared?
Right, and it will be. But hold on, since Adrienne just joined us, I wanna give her the floor.
Yes.
One moment. Hey, Adrienne.
Hey, thank you, Marco. I'm excited that we're at a place, and I know that FACE has been working with parent coordinators, and I just want to acknowledge, because there's so much work that has gotten us to this place, and it wasn't done in a vacuum. FACE worked with parent coordinators, field leadership coordinators, CPAC, President's Council members across the city to get us to this place. Thinking through what virtual election guidance should be is not simple, because clearly our chancellor's regulations didn't contemplate that we'd be in this environment where we'd be holding virtual meetings via Zoom, and then, you know, down the line holding elections via Zoom. And so it took quite a few people to come to the table and dedicate time to thinking through what this should look like. And we are going to get it out this week. I know there's, you know, been questions and folks have been waiting for it. And CPAC, I know you're like, you know, you've cribbed some of the language from it to make your own document, which I think ultimately, you know, like I get it. We want to get the information out as quickly as possible. I will say this, I think the document will be out by tomorrow. And I think it'll be a really full, comprehensive sort of explanation on how to hold virtual elections. And so I like that you guys have taken a sampling of what's in there and are sort of giving folks a preview so they know what to expect when they get the actual official guidance. I would just say, just in terms of like keeping our parents, what I don't want is for parents to leave these forums, go to parent coordinators and FLCs, and those folks say, like, we don't have official guidance, you can't do this. So I want to make sure we roll it out in a way that actually is going to be effective for our parent leaders and not disempower them because they show up and they have these conversations with parent coordinators and FLCs and they end up being turned away. So we will roll out official guidance. We'll roll it out through our agency. We'll roll it out to parent leaders at the same time so that everyone's on the same page as to what the rules are and what we're allowing, because this is a deviation from the normal election practice. And there actually had to be some waivers in place for us to get to this point. And that we're going to have to explain to our colleagues, many of whom are going to be responsible for overseeing and partnering with PTA-PTAs on hosting these elections.
Right, right. Adrienne, just because we are streaming, we all know you, but somebody on YouTube might not. Can you just introduce yourself, who you are?
Thank you, Marco. Adrienne Austin, Acting Deputy Chancellor for the Division of Community Empowerment, Partnerships and Communications, which means I have the pleasure, the honor and privilege of working with parent leaders across the city, our President's Council presidents, our President's Council members, our CPAC Executive Board, CPAC members, PTA-PTAs, you know, down the line, CEC members, ECC members. I also oversee IGA, which is manages the agency's relationship with elected officials across the city. I oversee communications. I oversee the press office, translation interpretations, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's a pretty vast portfolio of work, but ultimately it is thinking through our public affairs for the agency.
Right. Thank you, Adrienne. So now we can go back to questions that were possibly coming through the YouTube chat, or even questions that are here. Actually, I see Mati here is raised her hand. So go ahead, Mati.
Hi, good morning, Adrian. I'm not sure if this was discussed because I'm busy momming, but will it be available in multiple languages at the same time, or will this roll out in English first and then in different languages on other days? Because we have a lot of parent leaders that are not English speaking.
That's a good point that you're making. Unfortunately, sort of the way that we've been proceeding is getting it to getting information out in English first and then other languages thereafter. We are going to try to at least make English and Spanish available immediately, and then the other languages forthcoming. We always translate, or we should always be translating in our 9 languages, and so English and Spanish we can do immediately, and the other remaining languages we will get them out as quickly as possible. And what I think what we have started to think through, just because we know sometimes families who speak other languages like Bengali or Arabic will see the documents and not have any idea, like, is it ever going to be translated? And so we've talked to T&I about like just putting a box on the documents to say like, it's coming and here's where you're going to find it. So we'll make sure that we have that on the document so the parents know that we haven't forgotten translation. We haven't overlooked translation, but we do have to wait for it to come.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so if we move back to questions that are coming from the YouTube now.
Yes, I would start with the very first question, which is really important. I'm not too sure if you mentioned it. Someone said, is this being recorded for anyone who might not be able to attend this meeting?
Yeah, so the link, the live stream link will be available after the meeting is finished. Will remain there as a recorded meeting. So it's gonna be available afterward as well.
Okay, thank you for that. And the next question that we have is around, is there a phone line for PTA can call if they cannot be in their phone looking at the screen? And in addition to that, she also asks, when will this document, CPAC virtual election guidance, be made public?
So we can make our document public whenever we want, right? We're gonna make it public right after this meeting. We might be making a few corrections potentially if we feel that that's needed. And that's it. Yeah.
So in other words, the presentation that you did today will be made available on our website, correct?
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
All right, and the next one we have is this: what happens if you do not have a parent coordinator?
That's a great question. Well, I can try to answer, but maybe Adrian is here, so why don't give it to her?
Ultimately, the partner generally for elections is the principal, the principal's designee. That's the language, I believe, in the chancellor's regulation. And so what we have offered to the principals, because we know they're doing a million things just around, blended learning and preparing for school reopening. And we know they're going to continue to be incredibly busy. We've said, look, let's make it easy. Your designee should be your parent coordinator, right? Because that's the person who works directly with your parents and your parent leaders. But for principals that do not have a parent coordinator, then they will have to designate either themselves or an assistant principal or someone else to support. But obviously, DOE schools, we have a responsibility and a privilege of supporting PTA elections, and we want to make sure you guys are successful. So it's got to happen under the principal's direction. And if there's no parent coordinator, then it's whoever the principal can delegate to the task.
Right. Great.
Thank you. And the next one we have is, do we have any translation for the non-speaking English PA and PTAs? This is coming from Rocio.
So is the question, I guess, We do not have currently a translation of our document. We can certainly work in getting a translation in a number of languages. But right now, when we release it later on today, it will be only in English. We can, I'm sure, very quickly also get it into Spanish, and then work with parent volunteers to translate it into other languages. But by Friday, by tomorrow, possibly, the DOE document will be available. And then the DOE will be working on translating their document is going to be much larger than ours and with additional information. So we'll see whether it's even necessary that we go through the hoop and translate our own little document into other languages, but we can certainly do that if there is a need.
I will say this because I like the idea of supporting language access. If you guys have something, can you send it to me, whatever you've got, and I will try to get someone on translating it. Look, at this point, language access is an important thing. We have to make sure we're not excluding any of our parent leaders, any of our families across the city. We take that charge really seriously. You guys know this. CPAC has folks on the Equity Council that FACE stood up, and part of the mission there is to think through things like language access to make sure we're not shutting out our families who speak languages other than English. So if you send it to me, I'll get somebody working immediately on translating what you got. Especially if the content is different. Is the content different? Do we feel like, is this a one pager? Or is it different than?
It's 1.5 page. Yeah, it's 1.5 page. And it's different than your doc. So you translate, the language is completely different. Okay. It just, but it's effectively like a step through. You just joined later, so you didn't get to see it. But effectively it's just a simple step through of like, you create a nominating committee, you do this, you do that. Many of the things are already exactly the same thing that it happened on a in-person meeting. But there are a few things that need to obviously be different because it's not an in-person meeting. That's really it.
So send it to me and we'll work on getting it translated. And I think just coming out of the equity conversations we're having in FACE and what we're going to be asking, I think, out of this equity council going forward is like, these are issues we have to think through. And it's a great place to be in terms of modeling for CPAC. What does it look like when you guys produce documents? How do you leverage the language diversity amongst parent leaders to be able to support making sure there's translations? And if you're modeling it here as the height of leadership for parent leaders across the city, then when you get to the PTAs across the city, they start to, sort of emulate what you guys are doing here and making sure that they're including.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
Adrian,
thank you, Adrian.
Adrian, this is Jimmie. The reason why a lot of these things have to go forward, if we do not have the guidelines to be able to do this virtual election for the PAs and PTAs, they would not be able to get president councils. And then that means we will not have a CPAC. So we need to be able to have the PAs elections so that we can get the districts to have their presidents and form their president council so that we could be able to have our voting for CPAC. So until all these things are done, CPAC cannot have president councils, the presidents from each district on there. And we need to be able to have these 38 votes. So the schools have to have their elections, their PA and PTA elections, so that we can form our president councils in our districts. And then we can have the CPAC election. Until then, we can't move forward. So this is why this is very important that we get these election guidelines out. And this is what we're trying to do.
Amen, Jimmie. I'm with you. Let's get the guidelines out. Everybody's been working for a long time to get to this place. Let's get them out. All I'm saying is, and I think we're all on the same page, let's get them out, and let's get them out in the languages so that every school, every PA, PTA across the city can understand what we're saying. So I think we're on the same page. Let's get the information out. Let's get it translated. Let's get those translations out so that we're supporting everybody at the same time.
Right.
Yeah,
thank you. And thank you about the translation, by the way, Adrian. For our document. Cecilia, sorry, you raised your hand.
Thank you, Marco. Hi, Adrian. I just think it's important to say that these are recommendations and we're not doing, like, the guidelines won't be regulations. Other than the waivers, everything else is recommendations, like recommending best practices. I think that was a confusing point for us. So I think it could potentially be confusing for everyone else. So I just thought it was important to mention.
Right. So basically what you're saying, Cecilia, reminding everybody that there are not changes in the regulation, the chancellor regulations. It's just, these are just ways in which, by still following the chancellor regulations, except for the aspect that they say the meeting has to be in person, but that's already been object of a waiver. Everything else, you're following the regulation anyway, and both the spirit and the letter of the regulations, and moving forward with the online election. Right. Great. Thank you.
Thank you for mentioning that point. And I just want to add, like, that's the reason why we've worked very closely with our general counsel's office to get us to this place, because how PA-PTA elections work is based on law, right? It's municipal regulations that govern this. And so we've had to get waivers or relaxations of certain portions of that chancellor's regulation in order to get to a place where we could even issue a virtual election guidance, because otherwise under the regulations, you can't do it. And so we've gotten waivers so that those sections of the law don't apply during this time. And we've also gotten a waiver so that the terms for PA-PTA officers are extended, which relieves a little bit of the pressure. They're extended till October 31st, which means that PA-PTAs now have until October 31st to hold those elections. So yes, and that's why it's going to be incredibly important for us to follow up with training, because this is difficult, it's technical, it's hard. You guys know, because you guys did a mock film of what the election should look like, but we want to make sure that folks do it right. Yes, but there'll be a lot of training, just because we don't want to have a lot of grievances. And we know a lot of times elections, even when they're like in person, they're fraught with issues. And so we want to reduce those issues and hopefully CPAC will collaborate with us on this. But we'll be doing a lot of training all through September to get PA-PTAs ready for those elections.
Great, thank you. Leonard, I saw you raised your hand.
Yes. Good morning. I just want to know, how long does the nominating committee have?
Did we lose you?
Oh, yeah. Did you hear me? How long does the nominating committee have
to do its work?
Correct.
I don't know that there is a deadline, but maybe somebody else can answer the questions.
I'm going to phone a friend. Bibi, are you here with us?
I'm here. Marco, what's the question?
How long does the nominating committee has to get ready for the election?
As much time as you can give them.
Right.
So I know some schools start months in advance, right? And they start to solicit volunteers who will want to be in a nominating committee. And then you have to train them and walk them through your bylaws and get them all prepped and prepared for the election. But in this space that we're talking about, that might not allow you the time frame to get a nominating committee. So you're looking at going into an expedited election module, right? So that's something to be considered on this guidance document that you're presenting to parents, because you don't want to cause any confusion talking about a nominating committee, but yet you're not allowed for the time for them to do that.
Right. But technically, a nominating committee could do the whole thing in 10 days, right? You call for the meeting, you create the nominating committee, you call for the meeting. So you, in those 10 days, because it's not that important that the nominating committee takes so many names in advance, they can effectively just take nomination from the floor, but they need to be running the election. Right?
Yeah, someone who's not running, yes, absolutely. Someone who's not running for a position can run the election, can conduct that election. Or you can send a letter and say, looking for folks to participate and become part of that nominating committee if you don't intend to run for a position, and you can self-nominate or nominate someone, right? But, you know, given the time frame that we have, it's not something that we would recommend, because you'd have to plan for it.
Well, because often the nominating committee is like a month or longer process.
Absolutely.
Right. But so my feel is like, if a PA wanted to run the nominating committee without taking the whole month and finding themselves at the end of October running the actual election, they could like call for an election 10 days from now, right? Announce it, have two parents that are not going to run for any position, take the nominating committee position, share an email address that anybody can submit their nominations if they want to, and then take nomination from the floor 10 days from now when they're running the election. and that will be sufficient, right?
Yeah, that would constitute to a nominating committee because now you have a chair and you would have someone to take your minutes and record
Right.
and do all the logistical parts of it. But again, time is an issue and it is optional, right? A PTA can
Totally
choose to
optional,
do that or not.
yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. Good. Thank you, Leonard.
But
You spark a conversation that I think
But I
was
just wanted,
useful.
well, I've got people behind me trying to make me look better. Let me question, but isn't October 31st the deadline? But that's the deadline, so.
So right now, I mean, I don't know, Adrian, you want to answer that, but I think right now the deadline is October 31st. Otherwise, it's the same as if the PA had not run the election by the end of school year. So the PA ceases to exist, and then you're gonna need to have an election facilitated by the district office or by the president council. It's nothing new. I mean, it has happened all the time that a PA did not run elections in June and then ran them in September. It's not necessarily a big deal, but it will be way better if we are able to, if every PA is able to run their election now as opposed to after. Adrian, you want to add?
I would just say, look, the goal is not to stress out PTA officers and parents. There's a lot of stress and anxiety right now. You know, we are looking to restart school. There's all these, so the goal is not to make people crazy. And so we're going to take it one day at a time. We are going to support with a lot of training and support for our parent coordinators, our FLCs, and then so that they're prepared to support parent leaders who are doing these elections and thinking through these elections. And then we will see where we are in October. Right now, we're in the beginning of September. So we're going to take it one day at a time. If it turns out by mid-October, there's a lot of PTAs that are across the city that haven't been able to hold their elections, we'll revisit it. We've got some time. We don't have a lot of time, but we have a little time. And so, you know, one thing at a time. And we're just at a place where we're releasing guidance. We're going to support, and we'll see where we are mid-October.
Yeah,
but
I like the idea of like, don't stress.
But we also know if there's been a problem according to A660, and if we have a problem and you can't get a nominating committee or whatever it is, we always go to the President Council. And if we don't get help from the President Council, we can then go to our FLC or even our SSC. So there's always a way of getting it because we're trying to make sure that we stay within the guidelines of the A660. And in that piece that we wrote, that 1.5 pager, we did put that in. If you wasn't unable to get a nominating committee, where you can go and get assistance to help you. So that is in there in what we did, as well as what y'all had written in yours. So we was not trying to deviate or whatever it is. We're not changing. These are going to still be the same protocol, but it's just being virtually done.
Right. Thank you, Jimmie. So we have apparently many. Oh, no.
Enough. I have to jump to another meeting.
Oh,
but
okay.
I'm glad I was able to join you guys. Thank you for all your hard work on this, your collaboration. Please send me the document. I'll work on getting it translated. Yeah. You guys can then get it out to your members. And it's a pleasure. And
yeah, thank you, Adrian.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Adrian.
Bye-bye. So apparently there are also many interesting questions coming from the YouTube channel, but I'm gonna call on the people here that they raise their hand, and then we'll see to we can get the other question answered as well.
Okay.
Shivian, you're there. You're next.
Yes, thank you. Okay, so one of the things I wanted to bring up, Adrian did mention something that was a little incorrect. It was about if your school does not have a PC, parent coordinator, your principal should not ever be part of the election. And this was also brought up in the chat. Rob Robinson, I'm going to quote him. He from the UFT. It says, what is it now? Now I lost it. Well, basically, you're supposed to have, you're supposed to have, can you hear me? I'm sorry. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, go ahead, Sharon.
Okay, yeah, that if the parent coordinator is not at your school, an FLC or FSC can help. But also, I mean, again, I'm representing President's Council, along with what Jimmie said. President's Councils are there to help in elections. So you can be invited to go to a school to help out with an election. Of course, you know, not physically, but virtually. So I just wanted to make that correction. I know people, the go-to is their principal, but that is I think she misspoke in that vein. Thank you.
And
just 1 second, Lourdes. I don't think anybody said that the principal will be running the election. I think all that we said is that there is a designee from the principal that needs to be present, because the DOE employee is the only person that can verify whether a parent is actually, whether a person present.
Sorry,
is there.
Marco. I have to correct you on that one. No, that one was an alarm. It just happened to my attendance up and people reacted in the chat. So she did say, well, perhaps your principal can help you, you know, and I just wanted to make sure that everyone knows that that is definitely not the answer.
Right, the protocol will be for the principal to actually contact the superintendent's office so that the FLCs or FSCs can support that PA, because if there is no a parent coordinator, maybe there's no PA or whatever, so, or whatever the case may be, you know, the principal should always be contacting the district office for support.
Okay. D22. You're the next hand up.
I also, hi everyone. I also just wanted to point out that president's councils also haven't had their elections yet either. So, you know, we're putting all this pressure on the president's council also to be present, but they're also waiting for their elections, and they're also waiting, you know, they're in the interim until October 31st, but they're also in the process of changing, and some are graduating out. So I just want to put that out there, you know, as many are that's possible to assist, but they're also waiting for their elections.
You're right, D22, you are right. That's what I stated. President Council cannot have their elections if PA and PTAs have not had theirs, because without them having their election to be able to come together and make a president council, you won't have a president council, as well as not have a CPAC. Because that's how CPAC is formed. So that was mentioned. So I'm glad you restated it. Thank you.
Yeah, but in the meantime, until October 31st, we're it. So like in my case, I'm transitioning from community schools to high schools. Still, I have to support community schools if they ask me to until October 31st.
Doris, you are the next hand up.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My question is along the lines of you get the elections, you get all the support, you're good. But let's say we had, in my school, we had one of our members, our PTA members, graduate out. What if you can't fill a position? Like if you get a treasurer and a president, but not a secretary, like how is that going to be handled, being that they're giving the deadline? And technically the mandated members are your secretary, your president, your treasurer. How are we handling the situation of if no one steps up? Some of our schools, we have an issue. Parents do not want to participate. They do not want to be on nominating committees. I've come across that so much, it's ridiculous. So in the case that we can't fill all positions, are they looking to kind of let it go until we're able to reconvene or something gets decided otherwise?
Somebody else may want to answer instead, but I believe you can only, a functioning PA can exist even with just one person, right? And then you're gonna, of course, try to run another election to get the other people. But I'm talking too much, so somebody else please answer the question instead of me.
I think Bibi actually, I think Bibi pointed out that at this point you really can't have an expedited election. What we really need the nominating committee for is to run the meeting. You know, so I think you've got, if you need somebody to run the meeting and you don't have any parents, then you go to the President's Council, then you go to your district office, you go to your school-based liaison. If you don't have candidates to fill positions, that's a slightly different issue, and it happens every year, online or in person.
Okay, I have 3 people here listed that want to ask. I also want to go back to the YouTube that is being put in the back burner because it doesn't have a hand up. So let's have Celia, Richard, and Leonard ask this question and then we move back to YouTube for a little bit. Celia, go ahead.
Okay. Good morning. It's more of a comment than a question. I want to say thank you to Chevion from Queens High School President's Council for pointing out the mistake about the principal being able to handle your election. It is a quasi mistake in that if we were using in New York City the national PTA model, the principal could handle your election, and in fact, the principal could be your PA president, because that's how the national model works. Administrators are allowed to be in your PA. In New York City, within the 5 boroughs, we do not do that, and your principal is not allowed. They're allowed to attend your election, but they're not allowed to administer your election. They're not allowed to lead it. They're not allowed to coax people to be in it. None of that. They're only allowed to attend. They can give an update on the school, but they cannot handle the election documents in any way, except for the certification form when they sign. And we do work under a different model. Adrian Austin has been looking at a lot of documents from the national PTA model. And I think maybe that's where the confusion came in. But in the New York City PTA model, there's no such thing as a principal or a school administrator in any way handling your documents. And there's no such thing as the PC running the election either. So just wanted to clarify that. And I'm really glad that Chevion pointed it out. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Sylvia. Richard, District 10.
Hi, good morning. I just have 2 questions and a comment. The first question is, I noticed that we did our sample trial to see how will a virtual election will look like, just with certain parents we polled. And one of the things we noticed in many of our schools in District 10 is that language is an issue. Many of the parents don't dominate the English language. So one of the things that I mentioned to the district was whether or not we can ask for the language interpretation services so that we can hire the interpreters, and the interpreters can take care of the waiting room or the phone call line, so that our PA meetings don't have to be so long just to get an election going on, because that's one of the things that, unless you are bilingual or multilingual, then you're good because you can multitask, but that really deviates from the process. So I wanted to know if there are fundings, or the PA will have to pay for it, or how does it work? I know that there is some funds available, but with the budget cuts, I don't know how to answer that to our schools in our district. And the second question really was for Adrian, but
just wait one second. Let's see if we can get the answer, whether maybe somebody from the OE has the answer in terms of like whether we will be able to get the translation happening at a meeting, at an election meeting. Okay, maybe we don't get that answer right now. So we go ahead and finish.
Very well. And then the second question, that Adrian is not here, but I noticed that Anthony Settle's here with the master in chancellor's regulation. I wanted to know, that Adrian mentioned that, that waivers and exceptions have been made because of the current situation that we're living. I want to just make a recommendation that, that this is an experience, a learning experience for us and the whole world, that we should just make changes to the chancellor's reg permanently, so that in case we hit with another pandemic in the future, that we don't have to be going through these, limited time decisions only, and then put them on the side, and then come back 10 years or a year later and having to sit down and go over again. So I want to know if the DOE is keeping these waivers or like virtual, right now, these guidelines that we're doing, are they just doing it because of COVID pandemic and then just throwing them out the door that, once COVID is resolved, or are they going to implement them for the better of our, future or whatever's happening? Thank you.
Right, permanently. Thank you, Richard. I don't know that we're gonna have an answer right now. Oh, Anthony, I see you raise your hand. Is because you have an answer? Go ahead.
And hi, Marco. Hello, everyone. It's not necessarily because I have an answer, but I do have a response. So part of our conversation has been that some of the elements that we have noticed or that we have implemented to address the functionality of PAs and PTAs during this pandemic are some of the things that we might want to include in a revision of the regulation. But that is a down the road kind of a thing. Right now, what we're trying to address more importantly is how to function within the circumstances that we are in. Once we return to a level of normalcy, and I use the term very carefully, once we return to a level of normalcy, we may be able to then incorporate many of the lessons that we are learning in regards to virtual meetings and virtual elections and virtual decision-making and gathering people together. And we are seeing an uptick in the number of participants at meetings from many schools who are holding their meetings online. So yes, we would like to incorporate some of these things, but as anyone around this virtual table who has been a part of that process of revising the regulation knows, it's not something that happens overnight, and it's not something that happens in one day. It is going to take time. It's going to take discussion. It's going to take conversations with multiple stakeholders. So yes, it is something that we would like to see done as we move forward, but it's not going to happen right away. What we are working on are the suspension of certain functions or certain mandates in the regulation to allow you to function at this time. And so we're focused on the present while we look to the future. So it's not an answer, but it is a response.
Yeah. Great. Thank you, Anthony. And I see Lynn also raised her hand. Maybe Lynn, you wanted to add something to this part of discussion?
Well, I was just gonna make a comment with respect to the question around the principal, and Anthony Settle placed something in the chat for folks to see, and I just wanted to emphasize, Celia is correct, right? So the national PTA operates a little bit differently from the New York City model. However, the principal designates, if in the absence of a parent coordinator, the principal designates someone to support the association right, reaches out to their FLC to support with the association. So the principal can say, hey, Tamika Nurse Carter, who is my school aide, can you please help with this process? Or, you know, as the principal, I can call Bibi, my FLC, and say, hey, Bibi, I don't have an FLC, can you come help? Ultimately, it's the principal who decides who that support is going to be. So I just wanted to point that out. And to the question around someone, I think it was Doris Canela, who asked or mentioned about, you know, parents not taking on the position, as long as there's, and Anthony wrote it in the chat, as long as there's one mandatory officer of the association, they can continue and to fill the position. The PTA does not cease to function. The other thing that I wanted to touch on was that once your child graduates from elementary or middle or even high school, but once your child graduates and transitions to the next school, your position, whether it's PA, President's Council, your position becomes vacant. Now you can continue to support, and ideally that's what we want. We want parents to work with their schools and to continue to support in the work. You continue to work with the school, but once you have transitioned to your next school and your child is listed in the roster of that new school, your position becomes vacant. With respect to translation, and it's not something that's in the reg, right? I'm not gonna talk about, or I'm not gonna mention I really don't have anything to say with respect to payment or budget, but we want to be able to use the resources that we have. So if you have connections or relationships with a school aide, with a teacher that can support, with a parent who's not interested in running, and that parent is bilingual or that school aide is bilingual, and they're willing to support the association with translation, you should use the resources in your community to support you in running those elections.
Yeah. Thank you, Lynn. So I really would like to get to see some questions from YouTube. All right, so we have Rashida and Leonard that want to ask question here. Rashida, go ahead, and then Leonard. But we should try to also get to what's the question that are coming up on YouTube.
Thank you, Marco. I just wanted to mention, which I've mentioned in the past, for the DOE folks who are still on, for schools who have not received their mail at all because the buildings were closed. Like, have you guys been discussing that at all? I really wanted to mention it to Adrian. There's schools that have not received their mail at all. And we're wondering, like, what is the process? Like, what's the discussion around that? Because we're looking for mail, like our PTA, we're looking for mail that should have pieces that should have been mailed to our building. So we don't know, we need to try to provide guidance for folks who are in similar situations. That's it.
Rashida, so let me understand. The question is really about access to the school because the mail supposedly has been delivered. It's just that you have no access to go pick it up, no way to go pick it up. Or you're wondering whether it was even delivered.
Both.
Okay.
We finally went in once because I have a parent who lives very close to the building, and the principal called someone and let her in, our treasurer actually, to check the mailbox, but nothing was delivered, right? So it's like, now is it her job or our job as the PTA or the school to go to the post office? Like, how does that work? Our building was closed. Like, they claim nothing has been delivered. I'm just wondering if anyone else if this is bubbling up for anyone else in any other schools, and if DOE is aware and discussing, try to help, support us with that.
Right. So I guess your school was not doing the lunches. No. So it was possibly, the building was actually possibly completely closed.
Yep.
That's the situation. Some schools, some other were not in that situation. I don't know if there is an answer to that.
All right. Thank you.
Does anyone has an answer? Randy suggests mail is being delivered, probably not sorted. Although I think if the building was closed, they might have not been able to deliver it at all. I hear no one not taker of this question, so we'll try to figure out what the answer is and maybe share it later on. Go, Leonard, and
Okay.
somebody is. Hold on a second. Is
And then
somebody
I'll get back to the
Okay,
question.
then you get back to that. Great, thank you. Go, Leonard.
Okay, just 2 points. As was followed up before, the principal or the designee has to attend, and the principal can also, and the designee can verify the parents, can verify to see who the parents are, to make sure that they're actual parents at the meeting. That's the first thing. The other thing, I'm going to put Anthony on the spot here. Don't you think that based on the timing that we're dealing with, especially with the deadline right now, that a nominating committee is probably unrealistic? And maybe we should be recommending, an expedited election. Maybe that's what we should be doing. So I'm just like to get, Anthony's feedback on that, just based on the time periods we're dealing with.
Can I take the fifth on that?
No, you can't. You can't.
It is what I would say in regards to a nominating committee, that is really I think in the final analysis, that's an option that is open to PAs and PTAs, but it's not mandatory. So it should, at this point, we would leave it up to the individual association, but I think in the interest of time, it's something that's going to have to be weighed by that particular PA or that district in terms of getting providing the support and help that's needed. Is there anyone else from the school-based support teams that would want to weigh in on this? But I can give you what my personal feeling would be, although that's not what's in this. That's not an official position by the DOE. It would be my personal opinion. And so that's why I would reserve not saying that in this forum, because A, it is a personal opinion, and it is not the standard of the DOE. So if there's anybody else on the team, please weigh in.
But then shouldn't the guidance reflect that?
Well,
I think they
Leonard,
do.
Leonard,
They do.
yeah, these are our guides, and so you cannot answer for what we are saying, right? CPAC is saying. And
understood.
he has no responsibility whatsoever.
and Leonard and Len, I tried to utilize my best knowledge of Perry Mason tactics in answering that question. Not to give away my age, but you already know that answer.
I give you a lot of credit. I want you to know, I give you a lot of credit.
Thank you.
But I think we're all in agreement that is optional, right? It's really up to the PA to
Okay,
figure out
Marie,
what's
any
best.
questions from online questions?
Yes. Although I did see Manhattan High School, Martha did raise her hand, but we'd like to get some questions in the from our live stream. And this is quite related with what we discussed, and it'll be a combination of two. So what are the meeting, conference, virtual platforms that are free and can run for 2 hours? This is from Maggie Velez. And also I would add, all PTAs should have been given a Zoom account that the principals are being asked to activate from DOE. And this is from Shanette.
So I think I would like Randy actually to answer that, since she has experience in getting the DOE, the PA PTA email from the DOE and using the Zoom account connected to it.
Okay, thank you, Marco. So all PTAs do have a DOE email, and through that email, if you sign up for Zoom, you have access from the DOE. The only problem that I discovered recently is that the polling feature is not active on my account. So if you need to get your email address, you contact the school's principal or their school secretary. It would be your school district, your borough, your school number at schools.nyc.gov, and they can get you an email, a password, and then you would sign up for Zoom using that email address, and that gives you the unlimited access through the DOE Zoom. But something technical support would have to help us with the polling feature because it's not active and it says it's locked by the admin.
Right. So that's something that we discovered last night, literally. And so it's something that actually we would like to discuss with the DOE. I'm sure it's just a matter of enabling the function from their hand, and probably easy thing to do. But as of today, or as of last night, it was not available.
Also, we want Randy to share how they can get access to their school because she was able to go in, and we wanted her to share that so that everyone would know how they would be able to get access to be able to go into their school without a problem. So Randy, would you do the honors?
Okay, so you would have to email your principal and request access to the building, explain the purpose for what you need access for, give her the names of the members that would be coming in, and you would share that the dates and times that you'd like to go in, and the principal would then send an email over to the Borough Safety Director, and they would approve it, or I mean, they mostly approve it. Then they would, your principal would notify you that you were given access. You cannot bring any children, anyone that's not on the list with you. You have to wear a mask. You have to sign in with school safety. You can't go in any other rooms, only where they direct you to, and you're in for the purpose of what you need, and then you leave. You can sign checks. You just can't remove the check from the building.
Right. And you were able to do that and get the documents you needed, maybe make copies of things if you needed to,
yes, it was
to
very
make copies, sign some checks that you needed to mail out, and take care of that part of business. That's something that many PAs I know have been having trouble with. Marie, can we get back to the,
Yeah, so Lincoln Ritter, He asks, are these guidelines, practices generally applicable for voting, such as budget approval, spendings, etc.?
Right. So in reality, for just general voting, there were prior guidelines that the DOE issued that already address that and that are perfectly valid, which are not in any way different than what we are saying right now in an event. The only difference is that there are less requirements for motions or adoption of budgets and similar things in the chancellor ranks than there are for an election in the chancellor ranks. For example, while you will expect that you want only people that are actually from the school to vote, the only requirement actually comes from the election. There is no, the chancellor rank don't say anything about that for a general voting of the PA. So it's easier to actually, you don't break regulation just by not having any validation. I don't know if somebody from DOE wants to expand, but these were like actually past regulations that were released, I think, in the beginning of June or even possibly May. Anybody has some more to add?
I think you're right, Marco. You shared, you answered that question appropriately.
Okay.
The decision-making process was released.
Great. Thank you, Bibi.
Okay.
Great.
Next one.
Oh, just one thing. I guess the other thing we can say, we can share a link with the document later on the CPAC website to the past guidances that have been published, so that anybody that doesn't have it is going to be able to get it.
But usually when you think about it, when they're in the regular environment and they go to vote or make a decision on anything, they don't have to know whether the parents come and whoever's coming to your meeting in person, and you take and you do your voting or your motions or whatever it is, you show by raise a hand or however the PA does it. But it's a difference when you're doing the voting. You want to make sure that that person is qualified to vote. They're the legal guardian, they're the parent, whatever that position they are. That's the difference between taking the election as a PA, a PTA. Why it's important to know exactly who the person is that's voting. Then when you're doing when you want to do a financial change to your budget, that's totally different, because you just come and you do that, but you normally know who's there. But here, we have to know the identity of the people that's voting to make sure that the election is done right and they are the person at the school.
Right. Yeah.
Chair, you ready for the next one?
Yep, I think so.
Okay. In combination, Amalia Dawson says, how can schools receive additional support and lining up vendors for interpretation services for these meetings? And also Tamara Stern says, services needs to be our goal in this environment. Non-English families are being left out of the conversation. So this is around translation, which I believe that Deputy Chancellor Austin had answered. And then in addition to that, well, this is around why the meeting was scheduled before the release of the document. I think you can answer that because the document has not been, the guidance directly from FACE have not been released. So if you want to make it clear, Marco, that the document you presented today was just directly from CPAC and not the actual guidelines from DOE?
Yeah, so basically we had scheduled originally this meeting for August 27th. We felt that we wanted to, so PA and PTA needed to have some idea of how to be able to run the election before September even started. We then postponed it to today, hoping, we knew it wasn't a guarantee, but hoping that potentially the document will have been released by now. having learned that it's probably going to be released tomorrow or very soon, it made no sense to like postpone the meeting again, maybe to next week, and then delay further this process. And so we still had the meeting, and I think we are actually, like, most of the information that you need is available right now, and additional information will be available tomorrow, hopefully, or very soon from DOE. Right? I guess somebody wants to add something to that? I guess not. Okay, go for the next, Marie.
Okay, so this is very specific, and I guess this assistance or guidance would come from our SBLs. So Amalia says, we don't have a PC. Our principal's having an issue getting our PA DOE email account password reset for us to possibly use Microsoft 365 for closed caption translation. Who can help us with this?
All right, somebody wants to take it?
Hi, it's Myishia. If you're having a hard time, you can also reach out to your FLC in particular with this issue, or we can directly reach out to one of us. What district are you in?
I'm looking, Amalia does not say which district she's from. I don't see that. Don't see her district from here, Lynn.
Okay. Maybe we can inquire and then we can give her the step-by-step guide or connect her to the FLC.
Great. Thank you, Myishia.
Okay. Okay.
Kathy Grotzig says, and we spoke about this, can FACE please commit to helping PTAs get email and Zoom accounts activated? This should not fall the principals as they have enough on their plates. I believe that was answered.
Yeah, maybe let's go again through the steps to request it. I think the parent coordinator is usually actually dealing with it, not necessarily the principal. But Randy, do you want to specify exactly the steps taken to request it?
Sure. For your email address, you would contact the principal or the principal secretary. I don't believe it's the parent coordinator.
Okay.
And they would be able to, I mean, you should know. So it could be like 21K 212 PA at schools.nyc.gov. So it would be your district, your borough, your school number. If it's a 2-digit, it would be like 090 at schools.nyc.gov. The help desk, you can try calling the help desk yourself and seeing if they can help you. If you're the PTA record on file, they may give you a password and then you just reset it to your own. If not, it would be your principal.
Right, but effectively you will send an email to the principal and say, hey, the PA would really like to get access to the NYC DOE email address that the PA has.
Yes.
Can you request for the password to be assigned to us?
Yes.
And the principal will then know who to forward that email to and get the information.
They would call the help desk. They have to call the help.
They will have to call them, okay.
Yes. But also for President's Council, you would contact your FLC or your FSC, depending on how they work in your district.
Great. Bibi, I think you were trying to jump in.
Yeah,
and
maybe
add
I can.
something.
Maybe I can offer something. Listen, getting the PTA email is a really important need right now, right? Because the elections are going to come up. Everyone wants to have access to the Zoom account. What Randy said is correct. However, we do know that the principals are, dealing with a lot, and they have a lot on their plate, and we want to certainly support that. So we are looking into a way to streamline the communication and getting PTA account activated, because the PTA email already exists by giving the DBN number, like Randy said. It's already there. All we have to do is activate it and get you a temporary password. And so if we can develop and streamline the communication process and getting that done, we certainly want to do that. And we have been in discussion with DIIT to get that done. So I'm hoping that soon, rather than later, before the election guidance goes out, we will have every PTA with a functioning email that will allow them access for the Zoom platform so that they can conduct their election on a platform that doesn't cost anything, and it's centrally, supported by the DOE.
Great. Thank you, Bibi.
So yes, we're aware of that.
Thank you, Bibi. Mahali, I see you raise your hand. We're gonna go back to the YouTube questions, but right now, go ahead, Mahalia.
Hi, thank you for taking my question, Mahalia D27. I'm just concerned that we might put out a document that's not legally cleared, and then our PAs might follow that document and come into conflict with something. I don't see why, waiting one more day for DOE's official guidance to come out is a large ask for us. Okay, Matthew. I'm just. Oh my God. Okay, baby. Oh my God. You heard that. All right. So that's just my concern that we put something out that might conflict with what DOE, because they're going through legal, and we don't want elections to be grieved because someone follows something that's not specific. Also, we know as people that work with schools all the time that they will be more inclined to follow something that comes from Central versus CPAC. So I just want to.
But Mahalia, though, don't forget that PTA are independent organizations, and that all we need to do is to not break the rules and regulations that exist. And so nothing in the recommendation that we are giving out right now breaks in any way the regs. So there is not, but we have an easier process. We don't have a legal department to go to and to request for approval. So we have an easier process in getting the document out. But there is not. So this is our organization, but it's not DOE organizations, right? So PAs and PTAs have their own organization, independent. They can effectively do whatever they want to do. What they need to not do is to go against chancellor regulation, and nothing in the guidance that we're giving out goes against chancellor regulations, right? And even the guidance that the DOE is putting out does not change chancellor regulation. It's just a document, a more detailed document. Is the one I saw was like 7 or 8 pages long on this very same issue. So I don't think there is any conflict or any problem with it. Marta, you also raised your hand.
Yeah,
you did before too, so go ahead.
Okay, I'm not muted. I'm just concerned, Mahalia, was there anything that jumped out at you in the document that you felt was like misleading? Was it a specific thing, or was it just the fact that we don't have like legal advice to check for us?
Yeah, it's just that we didn't have legal. I mean, when legal writes something, they'll check the language and make sure everything is like, if you say they, it's just a language issue. When they put out something, it's usually different, but it's not nothing that stands out specifically. I just wanted to.
Yeah, I mean, I
think we're concerned about that.
I see your concern, and the problem with with putting the documents out is that the DOE is not going to send the CPAC document along with their document. That people, parents aren't going to receive these documents together, because that's what happened the last time when the guidance was set out. And again, our feeling is many parent leaders have neither the bandwidth nor the time to really handle these really, really big documents, and they get very overwhelmed, and it feels really difficult. And if they read our guidelines, what they just see is these are the steps. You recognize 9 out of 10 of them are recognizable because it's what we do every year. But it's more of a sort of even a step by step than guidelines. And we tried really hard to not go where we see, I mean, just between the 7 of us or the 8, and then the 10 or 11 people who are online working, we all had different experiences. Every PA does things their own way and has their own style and their own, and sometimes not in regulation, and sometimes they're out of regulation, but they just do things the way they do things. So we tried really hard to not go there, to like just have, this is, these are the things you need, here are your hands, and here's how you get them in a row. And let's keep it short, because I mean, look, I'm college educated, and 7 or 8 pages are more than I want to deal with. and I'm English as a first language. I don't want to deal with all those pages. And, you know, so that's why we have this alternative. It's like unlike how I speak, it's a very short version. That's all I wanted to say.
Cool, thank you, Marta. I see 2 hands raised. Murray, keep following the chat on YouTube, and I gonna get this to Cecilia and then D22 to go. Go, Cecilia.
I just like, since we started the meeting and Adrian said that we will see about the guideline, the October 31st date as a deadline for elections and budget approval. I understand that many things can happen in terms of the pandemic, and we can have, you know, cases go up, and that would change decisions for schools. But for PTA elections and the way we handle our organizations, like that won't affect that. It will still be virtual probably. So I just want to say that we should have either an extension or say that that date stays. I don't think saying we will see what happens is respectful to all these people that are waiting, all these parents, leaders that are waiting for answers. That one is not hard, and it doesn't really depend on what happens with the pandemic. So I'm encouraging FACE to come up with a decision on whether or not that deadline will be extended. And as Martha said, like we all do things differently. I personally don't need the date to extend it, but some PTAs do. So I think it is an important decision to be made by tomorrow.
Right. Thank you, Cecilia. Even though I kind of agree with the idea, like 2 months extension was given. In fact, 3 months, 4 months extension in reality, because it was technically the end of June and now it's the end of October. And I think everybody should really try to run the election before. And I don't know if the DOE was going to say, oh, now the deadline is December, for example, then whether that will instead make many PA just say, okay, then we're not going to do it, and effectively not solve the problem. I don't know, right? I kind of like the idea that everybody will really try to run their election before October 31st, and then we give support to those who are unable to do it for whatever reason.
And Margo, I just want to clarify, I'm not saying that it should be or not extended, but I think we've heard so much, we will see what happens. And I'm just hoping that the least we will see what happens answered, we can have the better. And
yeah, no, I understand that, yeah. we already have a lot of, we'll see what happens in our plate. D22.
Thanks. Yeah, I agree with Cecilia. I just wanted to say, as I'm reading through the chats, and we've been on these late calls with CPAC the nights before for 3-4 hours trying to get these documents out. But I just want to acknowledge how we're all volunteers, and it's so nice to know that we're so eager to get back into supporting our schools and supporting our kids. And I just wanted to give really a shout out and a pat on the back to all the CPAC members, all the PA and PTAs, all the president's councils who are really eager to get back to what we're doing. And I know it's frustrating, and I know it's so frustrating to constantly be hearing it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. But PA and PTAs are going to look very different in this coming year. And the one thing that is going to be consistent and constant, whether we're having elections in October or not, is just that we're here to support our communities and to listen to what they need and be there. And whatever else is gonna follow is gonna follow. And regardless of how frustrated we are, it takes time. But I did wanna acknowledge how awesome I think everybody is. So yeah, so thanks PA and PTAs and CPAC and President's Councils.
Thank you. Richard, go ahead.
I just want to, what Celia, what she mentioned is absolutely correct. I think that we've been hearing this language. However, I need to just put it out there that when we had our President's Council meeting for District 10, I surveyed the members, the presidents that were attending, and the question was, are you ready to conduct your virtual PTA, PA elections September or October? And the answer in great majority was no, we're not ready. For whatever reasons they may see or whatever they have. So I think that a best decision to allow flexibility is that we should have staggered release dates. For example, we're all into this deadline of October 31st, but like Jimmie mentioned, what if, based on our bylaws, most of the schools have their dates to meet on the 4th Wednesday of the month. Let's use that as an example. That technicality is that you will have to do your election at your next meeting will be on the last week of the month of September. Henceforth, your election will be on the last week of October. So this really puts President's Council in a big position that Jimmie already exposed. So I think that the DOE should make accommodations to extend CPAC's election to at least the first week of November, so that we can at least get these PAs to have their elections in a timely fashion. They won't be perfect 100%. They all work differently. But then, if we don't get our PAs in order, the rest do not fall in order, and we will have a chaotic situation in many of our districts. And I'm speaking as the third largest district in the city of New York. For all our schools having that answer that they're not ready, it's really worrisome. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Richard. We could, if we want, we can write a letter and approve it, requesting something. That's something we can discuss later on and do that. Murray, can you?
Can I just quickly?
I'm sorry, Martha.
I'm so sorry, Marco. You just said write a letter, and I've been thinking constantly, and I didn't ask Adrienne because it wasn't the point of this meeting, but CPAC has written 5, if not 6 letters to the Chancellor, and we've had 0 response, 0 zippity, nippity, not even a secretary, not even an assistant who could write a letter saying, thank you so much for your time and effort. We really, no, nothing. So why, if we're going to write a letter, how are we going to get an answer? I mean, I didn't want to put Adrienne on the spot because I don't know that it's her job, but somebody needs to tell somebody in the Chancellor's office to answer the goddamn letters, because it's just insulting. That's
it is. Okay, thank you.
So, Murray, can you get
Mr. Chair?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So Rima asks, will this document state in writing parent leadership can have access to the building with the stipulations? I guess she's making reference to the prospective guidance.
Quiet. No, you're not having Miss Reed, someone else.
Would somebody want to pick up on that question? No answer.
I guess this is around access to the school being
So
added to the guidance.
If I may, this document that's going to be released is election specific. That being said, the document that's being released is going to provide the guidance and the guidance on elections.
Right. And in fact, yeah, but probably additional guidance will be issued specifically for that, correct?
Lynn?
can additional guidance be provided on what's being asked? It can. We just need to make sure to communicate that to Adrian.
Now, a question in that regard, actually. Some of our PAs and PTAs wouldn't have on hand or a copy of their bylaws or whatever, and wouldn't that be something that they will need on the day of election? So with that said, getting access to their documentations and their rooms will be also part of, the preparation towards election day, I would think.
Cool.
Okay. The next one we have is from Kathy. Will CPAC be holding another meeting under new recommendations once released?
Can you repeat that? Sorry, Marie.
Will CPAC be holding another meeting under new recommendations or guidance once it's been released?
Yeah, I'm sure we will. I'm sure we will. It's not it's not necessarily like, I think it's just going to be additional information that is going to have to be digested, and we should definitely hold a meeting after it's released, and maybe even publicly make a mock election following all those guidance live, so that then can be used as a way to repeat it in other meetings. We definitely will, right? I mean, I'm saying it not that we have made a decision, but I'm sure that we will.
Okay. And this question is also around access and conducting elections. Leslie Ann asks, will PTA be allowed to run a virtual meeting in the PA office? What if the PTA PA doesn't have computer access?
Somebody go for it. I'm talking too much, guys. Why am I have to answer all the questions?
That's why we made you the boss.
No, then Jimmie should answer. She's the real boss.
Jimmie or any other voting members?
I mean, I can answer. So Randy stated earlier that to request access to the building, you would have to write a letter, put the date, detailed on why you're going into the building. So if the PA doesn't have access to the internet, then if they do the request to go into the building and they put themselves and the 3 members, then it wouldn't be, if it gets approved, then they can host it that day in the office on their computer with the school's internet access, because they would have to give a time frame, correct?
Yeah, but if they're asking a meeting, to have a PTA meeting in person?
No, for them to be in the, like right now I'm in my living room, right? So I need to go to the school building to my PTA office because I have no internet at home. So I would write the letter requesting access for the PTA executive board to have access to our office from 9 to 2 to do a virtual elections. That's what they mean.
I believe that's what she's asking, yes. To physically being there, since they don't have any computer access to go to the school, I guess in their PTA room and conduct the elections there.
So thinking on that, on what just Jassy said, right? And thinking that parents will not have, a lot of the parents that will be on the other side, right, of the, that will not be in the room with you guys, that will be the ones that are coming into the elections to vote or to either run or whatever. Let's say they're working. Let's say they don't have any other device but the device that the child is utilizing during instruction time. How would they be able to then get on to and keep in mind that the phone system is not very reliable for actual parents to give a vote that way? I don't know. I think it's more equitable if these elections are done later during the day, you know, so that it's more open for all parents to be able, you know, working as well as the ones that are home helping their children during instruction time to be able to participate. That's only my thought.
But also too, like if Jazzy say, if they go in to run the election, are they the nominating committee? Because you got to make sure if they're running for a position, they cannot run the election. So you have to be careful on who's going in to run that election. So that means you are not going to take up, go in for any position that's being voted on. So that's what you have to be careful in. If you get permission to go in to run that election, you still would have to have a DOE person represented with you to make sure that the parents that's coming in have the credentials to be able to come in. So we have to be very careful on that end when we're running it, because we have to make sure that the parents that are voting are the legal guardian, the parent, whatever it is, step parent, whatever it is, according to the A660, have the right credentials. And the only person that can do that is the principal designee. We don't have that as a nominating committee. So we have to be careful when we go into the school to do that election.
Leonard, I see your hand raised. Was that from before, or you have something else to add?
No, I do have something else to add. Sorry. So I just want to say, following up with Martha's comments about sending 5 letters, I know Richard is going to appreciate this. You know, when I look at the hierarchy, when they show when you go on the website and it shows the DOE hierarchy, it shows the Chancellor's Parent Advisory Council as the premier organization of parent leadership in the city. We are most of us, the presidents of the President's Council. But I sense, or I certainly feel that there's a little bit of, disrespect here. I feel that other organizations, I feel that there are other organizations such as the ECC that aren't even in that hierarchy. And I'm not trying to, that kind of get a little more respect than the CPAC. And we've been through these issues before about people not coming to meetings, and it's just, and I think we should really reiterate when Martha talks about sending 5 letters and not getting a single response, that bothers me. And it just shows that that CPAC is not being accorded the respect that we should as the premier organization of parent leadership in the city. And it just doesn't sit right with me. And I think, and I appreciate that Adrian Austin came to the meeting, but I mean, I think we really need to, it has to be reiterated that CPAC should be the premier organization for parent leadership, and the chancellor should certainly accord us, a better relationship than I think than the one we have now. Because I just think I kind of feel that someone comes in for a few minutes, they talk, and then they leave, and we're working very hard, and a lot of people working very hard to try to sort issues out. And I think that we really need to reiterate that we deserve respect. And based on that hierarchy, it's not that I'm not making this up. We are the premier leadership organization of parents. So that's just my 2 cents. So it just bothers me when 5 letters are sent and there's no response, and everyone's like, okay, there's no response, and then we move on to the next thing. No, that's unacceptable. Somebody worked on those letters. Our organization puts time and energy in. Somebody should answer those letters, and we should be accorded that amount of respect. Could you imagine if in any other organization where you wrote to somebody and they didn't respond to your emails? I mean, you'd be fired. I mean, it was ridiculous. So all I'm saying is I think maybe we should reiterate, I don't know whether it can be done in a letter. I don't want to put another letter out there, but that we would appreciate, come to the meetings, give us the time, show us the respect, respond to our correspondence, respond to our the suggestions we're making. If you disagree with them, that's fine. And I understand it's a crazy time, but this predated the COVID situation. That's all I'm saying. So sorry to go on, but.
So that's something we can address. And so right now I would like to move back to PTA elections and those issues, even though not to say that we need to bury these issues. We should get answers.
Maria, are there
About
any more
letters.
questions online?
Yes, and there are some comments too also related around the October deadline being extended, that CPAC needs to find out now, definitely now, and also should work on extending that deadline as PAs and PTAs across the city will not have enough time to conduct all these elections. And also if there was a notice board where PTAs and PAs can reach out to other PAs and PTAs for assistance. That seems to be
So what's the
consistent.
general sense from CPAC members, voting members, in whether we should be asking an extension to October 31st, whether we should ask it now, whether we should wait a little bit before asking it? Can people waiting?
Why don't we do a straw poll? And if people think we should ask for an extension, we can use the raise hand function. To do a straw poll, just to do a kind of a poll even.
Yeah, do the poll.
Okay, like if we had an election. Okay, that's fine.
Yes,
I can
like
set
that.
it up.
I like that.
I'm gonna set it up right now.
And 22 missed the question. Can you repeat it, please?
The question was around asking for an extension to the existing waivers deadline of October 31st, as they feel that many PAs and PTAs across the city will not have enough time to conduct all their elections. And also someone has said, when will president's councils be able to conduct their elections in turn? So the question is being asked, we're trying to, at this point, make a decision to see what CPAC feels about working on getting an extension to the existing deadline of October 31st.
Can I say, why can't we have an additional extension after the regular PTA elections for president, for CPAC?
I was just about to suggest that the extension would be not for PAPTAs, but for president's councils.
Okay, so this is how I'm gonna do it. Let's see if you think it works.
What happens is when you look at the elections, nothing can go forward until you have the PA-PTA elections. Once you have the PA-PTA elections, then you can form your president councils when the district have their election for their president council to get it going. And then they do their certification. And then it will come to FACE or DOE, so they'll know who it is. Then that's when we will be able to have our elections for CPAC.
Okay, so this is what I'm proposing. This is what I'm proposing.
PTA elections.
Okay, so this is what I'm proposing. The question is, should CPAC officially request the DOE to extend the October 31st deadline? And I'm giving three options. Ask for an extension, don't ask for an extension, ask for an extension, but only for president councils. Does it seem that to go? I mean, this is kind of like odd thing, but it's effectively very similar to the way we will actually be running an election if there was three people running. So it's not so useful. I'm creating it, just asking if it seems reasonable to have it that way.
Let's try it.
All right. I don't know if is it gonna appear on the, is it appearing on the streaming? I don't know if it appears on the streaming.
It's there, yes. And people are still voting.
And you have to remember, those that are hosting, they're not allowed, they won't be able to vote, but they can see everything.
So me, Jimmie, and Marie have not have a chance to vote.
Correct.
Because we are their hosts. Let's give it another minute just to make sure that everybody did, although it looks like we had a number of votes. Not in the chat.
Marco, maybe you could temporarily take them off of co-host status, so only maybe you don't vote, and that way they get to vote.
Sure.
And may I also add, as parliamentarian, I do not get a vote. So it would just be with Jimmie and Marco.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So then full hosting to Marie so that you and Jimmie can vote.
That's correct. So that Marco.
Jimmie, did you get the poll now that I removed your co-host?
If you remove me, I'll check and see.
I did.
Well, I don't see the poll.
Okay, it's too late then. So we need to remove it. We will have had to remove it before, but it's okay.
Yeah.
So
that sort of seems to be happening with Zoom.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. This is
FYI.
This was mostly to get a sense, and I'm gonna now end the poll and share it. Okay. So there are 11 votes that say ask for an extension, 6 that say don't ask for an extension, and 9 that say ask for an extension, but only for President Council. So if Jimmie and I were to go for the third one, we will have a tie. But effectively, it seems that there is a general sense that an extension is needed. The question is
42%. 42% of the membership.
Right, but really between 47 ask for an extension for everybody effectively, and 35 say ask for an extension only for President Council, which means that basically the vast majority is feeling that an extension is needed, at the least, at the very least, for President Council, but possibly even for more. So that's something we should really consider potentially. Don't know if we want to make a motion to request it officially, or whether we just wait and actually.
Okay. So motion to request the extension of October 31st waiver for PA, PTAs, and President Council.
For everybody, that's your motion. Okay, is there a second?
And are we?
I'll second it.
Right.
D31 high school.
Okay, do we want, so
Mr. Chair, hold on. There should be a modification to that motion. And I think what we're missing, extended to when? What is the proposed deadline?
Extended to when? That's a good one, yes.
I don't think that was up November 15th. They took 10 days. We could also add 10 days, something like that.
I don't think that's reasonable. I mean, I think it should be either November 30th or even December. I mean, I mean, we keep on. I just think people need more time.
But you also have to remember, you have some of those that are staying on as a courtesy to October 31st, and suppose they don't want to stay on if we get this extended. So there's a lot of circumstances that we're looking at on what's happening because of this pandemic. Because we have those that has, graduated out, but they're willing to stay on to help. But let's say they're not after October 31st, they don't want to. What's going to happen then? These are all the things that we have to look at.
Well, if I understood,
I'm sorry, this is D29. Didn't Adrian cover this though in her comments?
Can you start again, Sherry?
Where they are.
Sherry, we cannot hear you clear.
Start again from the beginning.
Start again. You were like cranky,
I was saying, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes, it's better.
Okay.
I was just saying, didn't Adrian state this though? Like, see where PAs and PTAs are mid-October, and then if there needs to be an extension, let's place an extension there, because all these scenarios that we're bringing up is exactly what's going to happen with all these different PAs and PTAs in different places. Some PAs and PTAs are ready for September to go ahead and do an election. Some won't be till October. And then you've got people who are not going to want to stay on past October 31st. So any extension, can't we do that extension when you actually see how much of the field needs the extension, and let them extend it into November? Because mid-October, you might only need 2 weeks in November, or you might need the whole month of November. Right now, us setting it is just, it doesn't make any sense when we don't even know for ourselves what the field needs.
Cherie is right, and Adrian did state that earlier.
So I'm also in agreement to not have an extension, but it seems that the majority of the people here do feel that there is an extension needed, and we have a
But you
motion.
know what? We're jumping a gun. We're not giving them the opportunity to be able to finalize and come up with whatever it is. We also know that they're still working on it. Schools are beginning to come into effect, and we're trying to work past that. And she did say it like we did, but because of all the different conversations, some of the things might have been, how you said, overlooked or whatever it is. And we know that the presidents are, you know, the PAs are gun-ho to do their elections, but we have to give them the opportunity. This is not something that's going to happen overnight.
That's great.
Yeah, I agree.
So then why can't we wait then? I don't know. So then let's wait then until this guidelines go out.
Okay, but then are you withdrawing your motion?
I don't know, because I still want.
No. What I mean, we have a motion on the floor.
Now
It was
I don't know, because my motion was not completed anyway, so we'll have to be done.
So we have a motion on the floor. It was seconded by Staten Island High Schools, right?
D27.
So maybe
Yes.
maybe it's gonna get voted down. But if you are continuing with your motion, we're gonna vote on it. Otherwise,
I haven't completed my motion because it doesn't have a date on it. So
it
needs to be modified. Yes.
So is that a motion?
It can just be blank. The proposed motion should have that extension date. What are you proposing? Otherwise, it's just vague at this point.
1 month.
I want to say something.
I just want to say, I wanted to point out that we're not asking to postpone anything. If people are ready, they should go ahead. And they shouldn't wait. You know, when you have when you have somebody who's there voluntarily because they've already graduated out, they will be ensuring that that election gets going if they don't want to stay past October 31st. Also, president's councils customarily have their election in May or June, not May, but June.
September.
So, right, but many have them in June, and this was always a big discussion between president's council chairs. And June means your new board is getting voted in by the old year. So there are pros and cons, but there's nothing to stop president's councils from having their election using the roster of PA presidents that they have from 2019. So all I'm saying is none of this is telling us we have to wait, either PA, PTAs, or president's councils. If you're ready, go ahead, but let's give people an extra month if they need it.
So the extension will be in order to in turn give additional time to PAs and PTAs to be able to do their elections. Now I'm confused myself.
I personally will be in favor of doing everything we can to support PAs and PTAs to run their elections as soon as possible, and maybe touch base again at the end of the month and see what the situation is and see whether we need to request an extension. But if the majority feels differently, I'm fine with that. it's really a matter of deciding in that sense.
Mark,
I'm going to withdraw my motion. Official.
Okay.
I agree with Cherie, and I think that we should wait and go forward, get FACE to give us this guidelines and guidance for elections and see where we stand in October and revisit it then. Because this is all sort of fruitless and we're just pushing the inevitable till the next month and the next month. And it needs to get done.
And what it is, we're trying to appease everyone that's here to get their answers or whatever it is. But more important, we need to wait for the guidelines to see to go forward, the giving FACE them the opportunity to get back to us so that we can see whether or not, if it has to be extended even more. We need to be able to go forward with that the way it is and keep going. We can help them in any way we know how. And the president councils can now with the information that we do have. If not, you can wait. But to try to push it forth now, it's not going to really be clear and everybody's going to be confused, especially with the polling. But I want to take this, I'm this. So this way here, if it's not there at all, giving DOE the opportunity to go through it, get it to legal, get back to us. We get the chance to see it. And then we can say, like she said, mid-October on whether or not we have to get that extension. Because we know nothing can move forward until all PAs and PTAs have had their elections. So we can form a president council. So we know that. So we need to give them a chance, the opportunity, because we all at this. They're doing the same thing. They're working together and they're trying to pull us in to help us. So we need to be fair and honest to them and giving them, because this is what true transparency is all about.
Okay, cool. I would like to point out also that there are many PAs that already have their election. Nobody needs to wait for any guidance to run their election, right? As long as you don't break any by any chancellor regulation, you can run your election today, if that's the situation. But we are now past 12, so our meeting time is finished. There are 3 people on the slot to talk. Then we should see if we want to modify in any way the document that we worked on last night and that we presented today, and approve it. So Andrea, go ahead. Andrea, D75, you had your hand raised. Maybe it was from before you changed your mind. Okay, we go to Andrea afterwards. Cecilia.
It was from before.
Oh no, okay, great, okay, fine.
Yes, I had it from before.
Oh, you too, okay.
Okay, well, D31.
Aaron?
Yes, hi Marco, thanks. No, I understand what everybody's saying, and I agree with the, holding elections and moving forward. The other part of me is that we're concentrating so hard on getting these elections done, and many of our PTAs do have members and officers that rolled over from last year, and they want to already start moving on to support their parents and do whatever work on it, whatever fundraisers can be done legally online and everything else. And now they're stopping and concerning themselves with something very new in online virtual elections. So, I mean, that's the reason why I was in favor of extending it, even if it means extending it to when we can hopefully get back to normal in the spring and have in-person elections, or by then work on and perfect the online forums and everything. So that's what my feeling is. So I agree, we do need to. The PTAs and the PAs that need to fill in pieces because of people graduating out or people that don't want to hold that position again, I would think that they should have the opportunity to have the expedited election, or they have succession, hopefully in their bylaws, where their officers move up. But I I mean, we're all about, the PAs and PTAs are all about supporting our parents, supporting our schools. I really feel that we are taking away from doing that, and our concentration from doing that, and we should be concentrating on supporting our parents and getting that information done. And yes, then we move into the election process. So that's my opinion with that, personally.
People who have, I don't know if I'm correct, but people who have moved up by succession, they still will need to be re-elected before the October 31st, because their position is just temporarily as per the waiver.
Yes, as long as that deadline stays in place, yes, they would have to be reelected. Absolutely. What I'm saying is that that deadline should be moved forward. Like we were saying, someone mentioned November. I agree with Leonard. I don't think that that's enough time. I would move it forward even more, because PA and PTAs are working. There's a lot going on. There's a lot going on in the schools, and taking administrators away from the work that they're trying to do and having them verify elections. I'm just in favor of delaying it and keeping some of our rolling over to the next year. It's a unique situation, something that we've never experienced before, but I want to be able to support my PTA, my parents, my kids. I want to move on with that personally. So that was my reason for extending everything, and for seconding your motion, Lourdes.
Motion.
I withdraw it, Aaron. I'm sorry.
I understand.
So was that finalized? Because you still had to pull up, and so if Lourdes is withdrawing her motion, so it's off the table, then I just want to make that clear.
Yeah. Correct. Thank you, Marie. And Jazzy will raise her hand in the meantime, and then Richard also.
I just wanted to share that we're focused on the elections, but everybody should be mindful in respect to the DOE. Our guidance that we got in May hinted that we would have to have a nomination committee and what that looks like. So this shouldn't be brand new to anybody if they've read that 11-page document, because in there it stated the process, and it also stated that cannot happen until they provide the election guidance. So everyone should have been aware that eventually they would have had to create a nomination committee and should have been in the process of preparing, their schools or their committees with this information. I mean, that guidance was sent to PCs and principals and PTA presidents and president's council. So it's not like it's a brand new, like this is the guidance we need to use for elections, because that was already shared with us in May.
Right, but we didn't get any specifics from the DOE. I agree with you 100%. It's not a surprise, but we were in a waiting pattern because we haven't been getting any specifics from the DOE. They gave us guidance, and it was pretty much just to survive for the moment. So yes, we knew we had to get nominating committees, but many parents are changing their mind. And we're at the point now that we're in September, and school is, hopefully right upon us, coming up soon. So yes, I agree with you, but we didn't get the further guidance or the document from the DOE. We're just now hopefully getting it this week.
Cool. Richard.
Yeah, again, the whole scenario is that, I like to be prepared for the ifs and buts, that the life throws at us, and we have to be prepared. It's not saying to be an alarmist, it's not to be worried at all times, but it's just to make sure that every district, every school works different. And we have to understand that perhaps my own school might be able to fulfill the elections before the October 31st deadline, but there might be other schools that will have issues. In here, I'm in favor of extending for the whole city if necessary, but we need to do it in staggered schedules, because we're going to run into the same problem trying to fill in President's Council elections and CPAC elections, because, everyone is going to most likely wanting to delay everything for the last minute, and then you're going to run into the same problem. So I think that once we get the PAs, at a certain date, fine. But then after that, we have to make sure that our president's councils have a second deadline. Let's say, for instance, at the end of November, for example, I'm just throwing it out there. And then once that deadline is met for president's council, then guess what? You'll move into CPAC. You could do it 15 days after, which will be in December, or, whatever the case may be. But this is just working to make sure that our schedules fall into place. Because at this point, we only have October 31st, and you have to get all these elections going on. PTAs, PAs, President's Council, and then you have to have CPAC done by October 31st. So there's a lot of dirt that we have to dig, and this is really going to cause us to extend, and this is going to be an ongoing conversation, just as the reopening of schools that keep on getting delayed, and that's just to give more time. Thank you.
When I think about what Jesse said about the guidelines that were given to us in May, even though everything is there, we should, like she said, by now we should have had a nominating committee. We're just waiting for the finalize. Everyone should really, regardless, the only thing we're really waiting for to really have an understanding is how we're going to verify the parents in their voting. Because nothing has really changed. We just need to be able to verify the parents and make sure that the right parents are voting and that they are on the school roster. Not only that, we have to be able to help the parents that's coming in on the phone and how their voting would be accepted, and we know who they are. Right now, we have everything that there is possible for us to do the election. We know that if we need a nominating committee, we can get that formed. We have all that done. We can come up with a date and let them know that the only reason this date is not really decided is to be announced is for the simple fact is that we're waiting for how we're going to identify the parents that are going to vote. Everything else, that's what we're really waiting for, is how we're going to identify the parents to make sure they are the proper parents that are voting according to the A660. That's the only difference that's happening right now. We have everything in our power to do what needs to be done, except for identifying the parents.
And I like also to point out that many PAs have run their election in June with no problem whatsoever. So it's not that we necessarily have to wait for anything to run the election. I would like to finish this meeting. So I'm gonna share again the document that we have created. I wanna know if based on the conversation that we had today, there is any change that we would like to make. Otherwise, we're gonna vote on it and adopt it and share it after the meeting. If anyone has any recommendation for modification from this document, I can leave it on the screen for a minute so you can read it right now if you. Tell me when you guys are done with this section. Let's scroll down.
Okay.
Rashida, you raise your hand. You can talk while we read if you want. Or not. And Jessica, too, you raise your hand. You can talk
Sure.
right now.
Just, it seemed like there was some, for FLC or FLC, could we potentially put what that means in parentheses, just so maybe new PA or PA, maybe new people who don't know that may be able to know what those acronyms are. The DOE is strife with acronyms, and it's hard enough to understand the documentation sometimes.
spell it out and then put the initials in parentheses. Yeah, that's very helpful.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you for that, Jessica. No, Mark, I was not able to read and.
What is it, Family Support Coordinator?
Yes, FSC, Family Support Coordinator.
I put it in the chat, but I want to say it aloud that I'm asking CPAC to release a one-pager urging our PAs and PTAs. I mean, I guess that's what this is. That's what this is.
Yeah,
because
that's
I
what it
have so
is.
many schools that are just straight up not even thinking about it because they're like, oh, we didn't get guidance yet. We didn't get guidance yet. And I'm like, no, but y'all got to start. So I guess that's what this is.
That's exactly what it is, yeah.
And then the email accounts, like the email addresses, like if we can get a couple of lines stating exactly what to do, like I could put that together right now, like literally boom, 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 to get your DOE email account, email address account activated.
Something to add here? You're suggesting to add it here? This is how you get your email?
Might as well. What do y'all think? I guess we might as well put it in there.
Sure.
Let me pull up the language right now. And then y'all can agree with me. And I'm sorry, it's so late.
I think adding how you get an email address would be beneficial.
Maybe write that. Maybe say it will be beneficial, but you don't need to. Like, it shouldn't be something that stops people from having elections if they haven't got it.
Well, yeah, the only problem for running an election without the account is if the PA doesn't have access to another platform, and all free platforms have a limiting time, right?
So, I have one more question just in regards to the platforms. If we're going to have, let's say, your PC, are they able to use their Zoom account to set up the meeting so that we have the unlimited? Let's say I use Zoom so that we have the unlimited and they can help sort of be the co-host, let's say, to help monitor the people. Are you able to actually like use the school Zoom account versus the like a personal Zoom account?
Well, I guess the purpose of the and why that school's email will be that purpose, so that you have access to the DOE accounts of the different platforms that they support. And that way, you know, whoever is going to be running the election will be able to access that way. I don't know if that answers your question, but.
I don't know if there is anything against having the parent coordinator set up the meeting and make the chairs and give chair rights to the, but it's really that's going to be about what a PA wants to do and how they organize themselves.
Right.
Can I scroll? So Rashida, are you writing the language that we want to add here? Okay, I'm gonna scroll down from here, okay, so everybody can read the next.
Reading the line that says it's the principal's designee, usually the parent coordinator is in charge of verifying. Should we say that they can help support but do not run the meeting? Do you know what I mean? Like,
is that?
So it's
the principal designee usually is in charge of verifying whether meeting attendees are eligible to vote.
I feel like
you want to say cannot run the meeting but are in charge of verifying. I mean, I think it's
the language, because you don't want, let's say, an overbearing parent coordinator to, let's say, assume control of the meeting and not necessarily, you know, because they're helping to assist. So they may mean well, but it's really the PA or PTA that's actually running the meeting. I don't know how to put it in there,
so it's the nominating committee in this situation, right? That is running the meeting, because
So maybe it's in the first bullet where it says the election portion of the meeting is chaired by the nominating committee and the meeting will be run by the nominating committee. I just don't want, and I'm not saying that anybody would necessarily do this, but again, we talked a lot about language. I don't know if anybody else agrees.
So the election portion of the meeting is chaired and ran by the nominating committee.
Perfect.
And we said before that is formed by parents that are not interested in running for any position.
I think there's always some well-meaning people, but you don't want your meeting, let's say, taken over by somebody that shouldn't be running the meeting.
Right, no, of course. Can I scroll down, guys, to the last section?
Where do I put my text?
Put it in
so
the
y'all can
chat
read it?
and I'm gonna copy and paste it. Then tell me also where you wanted to paste it. I'm gonna scroll down, okay? Do you put it in the chat in the meantime?
Sorry, Marco, one more thing. It says in the event that there are positions that are uncontested, they can be combined into a slate, which can be adopted. I think that one sort of has to go underneath like voting on one position at a time, because you sort of, it's like,
Okay. You want to move this bullet further down?
Yeah, I think under voting on one position. Yeah. Because you can either do the voting on one position, or perhaps maybe you only really have one person per position that are running, then uncontested, then you could run the election a little bit better.
Correct, but it could also be just for one position. It could be that you take the floor for president and there are 3 people running and you have the election. Then the next one you go for secretary and only one is running for secretary. And you don't have to run it, you just adopt it. And then the next one is the treasurer. There are 2 that run for treasurer and you actually have an election and then you go on, right? But yeah, so Rashid, I see here, there is a great name for PA, okay. Description of the request, resolution, example. But that's a lot.
Great.
But okay, so where will I put this in?
If it's too much, we can edit it at the end.
I would just put it at the end because it sort of goes in.
Okay.
You can star it and then put it at the bottom at the end.
Right. A footnote.
Okay, so there is a great need for PTA to set up the school. Okay. The process. Okay, I think it's fine just at the end. It's like something that is kind of added. Too bad that it takes us to a 3rd page, but it's okay. I think it's fine. And it's
no, we might be able to edit to squeeze it back up to 1. Let me see. Put it.
No, we can also edit the document to make it like I can take spaces out from here.
One thing I see,
I can make this smaller.
It says on the first sentence where it says allow for the usage of the.
What are you saying?
On the first sentence, there is a great need for the PTA to set up, blah, blah, blah. Allow for the usage of the. You see that?
Is that our or
let's
the?
change that to allow for the usage of the DOE Central Zoom. I'm in the document. But I just want to be transparent. This is I copied it from an email, so it came from Face. So allow for the usage of the DOE Central account, period. We don't have to say as indicated. Parent leaders will need to support the principals. Okay. All right. Thank you.
The process will be that either the principal or FSC calls for the IT department.
Could the PC help though if the principal's not available? So
that's what that person on YouTube was asking, like, can Face help straight up? You know what I mean? Like, we don't even want to bother our principals or PCs because they're so busy. So there should be a Face person to be able to help us with this.
But this is the process. We should post out the processes and then any other thing can happen. And surely we can ask for help and it will work. I would just leave it as it is. It's fine, it's clear, and it's probably an important thing for a number of PAs.
Yes.
Cool. So anybody needs to feels there is any additional changes that we or additions that we might need to have for this document.
Are we going to release this first and then wait for them to give us translated versions?
We're gonna, but we should vote on it. We should, we should have a vote on it to approve it. And then I'll send it to Adrian and ask her for the translation.
Okay.
We
The
might
reason
be,
why, because I'm saying to add a line to say that translated versions will follow shortly. Like
that can be added in the email that share the fact that we are that we releasing this document.
That's right. Okay.
Cool. So let me get a document out. I'm gonna go by roll call. District 1, which is me, is a yes. Leonard, District 2.
Leonard.
He might have left. Okay, we go back.
Leonard is there. He is there. I don't know if he's muted.
He might have stepped away from his computer.
And he's unmuted, so.
Okay. Jimmie, District 3.
Yes.
Rashida.
Yes.
Jacqueline, District 5. She was in earlier. A few people had to step out. I don't. District 6 was not present here earlier. Maybe I missed her.
Okidea was there. She is there.
District 6 was in. Yeah.
Okay.
Okidea, Welta.
And okay. District 7 was not here before, but I might have missed her. She might have come in late. No. Lourdes,
no.
District 8.
Yes.
Doleta, District 9. She wasn't here before.
Yes, she was. Yes, she was. Doleta
Okay.
checked in. Yes, she was.
Okay. Richard, District 10.
Yes.
Miriam, I also didn't have her before, but maybe she joined later.
I did not see District 11, Miriam Borgella, no.
Okay. Doris from District 12.
Yes.
Celia to District 13. Maybe she stepped away. I don't think Ariana from 14 was here. Kateya, I know she had to leave. What was that? Okay. Kateya had to leave. Janice from District 16.
Yes.
Veronica, District 17.
No, not in attendance.
She was before, but I guess she might have left.
Okay.
Yeah. Abby from District 18, I don't think she was in attendance unless I missed her afterward. District 19, also, I don't think she was in attendance, but maybe she joined later. Okay, Janine, District 20.
Yes.
Randy, District 21.
Yes.
Kemoy, District 22. Actually, I think Kemoy said that she had to go. She left a message that she had to go. Tanya Salmon, I don't think she was here. Tanya for District 23.
Tanya's here.
Oh,
Yeah,
23.
Hi, Tanya, sorry.
Yes.
Sorry. Tanya? Yes. Mati,
24.
Did she go? Did she have
Mati
to go?
Gonzalez, she was, but I think.
Yeah, she might have to go.
Yeah.
I don't know that anybody from District 25 is here. Francis said that she couldn't make it. Okay. Cecilia,
She
District
put
26.
in the chat, she has yes.
Who's that? Who was that?
23 says yes in the chat.
23? Yeah, I got it. I
Yes,
got
she
23.
answered, yeah.
26, Cecilia?
Mark, yes, everything. It was just brought to my attention that the nominations committee, the person who's running the elections cannot be someone who runs for any positions because that was the person counting the votes. But because that's not longer the role, because we're going to be doing polling, that could potentially change. because there's not that reason why the person running the elections could not be.
No, if you choose to run to be a part of the nominating committee, you cannot run for a role at all. You make that choice.
You cannot run for a position.
That is in the A660.
You can't.
No one see it. The A660 says no one seeking office shall run for shall be
running the
nominating.
Dolores, we all get that. Celia's point is that we're not physically going to be counting votes, and it's going to kind of like be electronically. There's no real room for foul play. But Celia, I don't think we want to go there.
No, I like that. That may be a later change for the regs if we continue to do this virtually.
But are you in favor of this document?
Yes.
Yes. Mahalia, District 27.
Abstain.
Jessica, 28.
Yes.
Cherie, District 29.
Abstain.
I didn't have Alyssa from District 30, but maybe she joined afterward.
No, not on here.
Okay. Edwina, District 31. Maybe she had to go. Jazzy, 32.
Yes. I believe 31 was Aaron. Sorry to go back on
No, Aaron is Staten Island High School. Andrea, I think she had to go, so she left. Brooklyn High School, Damara. Maybe she had to go as well. I don't think Bronx High School was able to join, Stacy.
No.
No. Marta, Manhattan High School. Maybe Marta had to go. Okay. Chevion, Queens High Schools.
Yes.
And Aaron, Staten Island Schools.
Yes.
Brilliant. So this document is approved, and we're gonna share it with Hadrian for translation and with the CPAC friends and everybody through the mailing list. I think with this we can conclude this meeting. We are like 40 minutes late in closing this meeting, but hopefully it has been useful to everybody. So
Marco?
Yeah.
This is Cherie. Should we call for a CPAC voting members meeting? There's obviously a lot of CPAC business that needs to be discussed and get clarified on. And we haven't had a meeting internally to discuss specific CPAC business.
Certainly. Yeah. We're definitely gonna have that. All right. Have a how do I stop live stream? Okay. Please end our meeting. Have a good day, everybody.